I couldn't understand why the bank kept sending those letters. We'd paid off the house years ago. From the kitchen, my husband's voice drifted toward me as he sorted the mail. I sat in the living room, still recovering from hip replacement surgery, my walker resting beside the couch. This one says something about a reverse mortgage statement, David called out. I'm Catherine, 54. For over 3 decades, I worked as a senior claims investigator for a major insurance company, specializing in fraud detection. I'd seen every scam, every forged signature, every creative manipulation imaginable. 2 years ago, I retired with a full pension, great benefits, and a mortgage-free home I'd bought with my late first husband in 1998. David, my current husband, is 57, a steady, kind high school chemistry teacher. His sister Rachel is 52. Until just a few months ago, I would have called her family without hesitation. She had been the fun aunt to my children, always bringing thoughtful gifts and telling hilarious stories during holidays. When David and I married, she embraced me immediately. We bonded over terrible reality TV and our love of gardening. In all those years, she'd given me no reason to doubt her. The hip replacement surgery was in late June. It had been scheduled, but the recovery was tougher than I'd expected. For nearly 3 weeks, I couldn't do much on my own. David did what he could, but his summer teaching schedule had started. That's when Rachel offered to help. She had recently left her job at a medical office. She said she was burned out and volunteered to stay with me for the first couple of weeks. I was grateful. She cooked, drove me to physical therapy, and handled the bills and mail piling up on my desk. She had access to everything, our filing cabinet, my checkbook, the home office. It didn't even cross my mind to be cautious. She was family. One afternoon stands out. I'd been in so much pain, nearly in tears, unable even to get myself a glass of water. Rachel sat down next to me, took my hand, and said, "Don't worry about anything. I'll be your hands and legs until you're back on your feet." I felt so thankful. Now that memory feels like a knife. In mid-September, strange mail began arriving. First, it was a statement from a lender I'd never heard of, Pinnacle Home Equity Solutions, showing a loan balance of $178,432. I thought it was a scam. Then another letter arrived, far more official with payment terms. David asked if it could be identity theft. My instincts as an investigator kicked in. I picked up the phone. When I called Pinnacle, a loan specialist named Trevor checked my information. "Ma'am," he said, "our records show you applied for and received a reverse mortgage in early July. Funds were disbursed July 22nd to an account ending in 7734. My heart raced. I had never applied for any reverse mortgage. I'd been recovering from surgery at the time. He continued, "The application was submitted online June 28th. We have a notarized signature affidavit on file." "That's impossible," I said. "I want copies of everything." Within 3 days, the documents arrived by secure email. David stood behind me as I opened them. The application had all my information, plus a signature eerily similar to mine. Close enough to fool anyone but me. The loops were off, the pressure uneven. It was a practiced forgery. My professional mind went to work, but my heart sank. Investigating fraud was my career, but dismantling the life of someone you love is a different kind of nightmare. "Who even has access to your signature?" David asked. "Who could forge it this well?" I thought about my filing cabinet, about the dozens of signed documents stored there, about who had unrestricted access during July. My stomach turned. "David," I said quietly, "what's Rachel's bank account number?" He stared at me. "You don't think?" "I need the number." He opened his banking app and read the last 4 digits, 7734. The room seemed to tilt. "That can't be right," David whispered. "Rachel wouldn't. She took care of you." "I need her financial records," I said. David pulled up her Facebook page. There it was, an album from August titled New Beginnings. Rachel posing beside a brand new Lexus SUV. Vacation photos from Cabo San Lucas. Pictures of her handing oversized checks to her 2 adult children. David sat down hard. The car. She told me she'd saved for it for years. We scrolled through her posts. The SUV had to be at least $65,000. The vacation, $10, 000, maybe more. The checks to her kids, $25,000 each, $50,000 total. It was all there. My stolen equity on full display. I didn't confront her. Instead, I made an appointment with a lawyer named Patricia Herrera, who specialized in financial fraud and elder abuse. At 54 and recovering from surgery, I qualified under that category. Patricia listened carefully. "Catherine," she said, "this is major federal fraud, reverse mortgage fraud, identity theft, forgery, wire fraud. We're talking serious prison time. What do I need to do?" I asked. "Document everything. Then we report it to the FBI." Over the next 6 weeks, I became my own investigator, piecing together the evidence. I found that Rachel had listed herself as my authorized representative on the application, falsely claiming power of attorney. And just like that, the cool aunt who once felt like family had turned into the suspect at the center of my own case. I tracked down the mobile notary myself. She remembered the meeting clearly. A woman who matched Rachel's description had met her at a cafe, using an ID with my name and signing the paperwork. The notary even recalled the small scar above her left eyebrow. That was enough for me to go to the police, and then the FBI. Agent Monica Ramirez took my case, young, confident, and incredibly sharp. "You've done half our work already," she told me after reviewing the evidence. "This is one of the most well-documented fraud cases I've seen from a victim. It'll take a couple of months, but I'm confident we'll have enough for an arrest." When I told David, his face crumbled. "She's my sister," he said over and over. "How could she do something like this?" "I don't know," I said quietly, "but she's going to face the consequences." The hardest part was pretending everything was normal, especially during Thanksgiving. Rachel showed up dressed to the nines, bragging about her investments, smiling as if she hadn't stolen nearly $200,000 from us. She even hugged me, said she was glad she could help me financially. I smiled back, counting the days until it would all end. The FBI made the arrest on December 23rd. Agent Ramirez called that morning. "We have the warrant. We're executing it this afternoon." "I want to be there," I said. "Mrs. Morrison, that's not standard protocol." "I don't care. I want to see her realize she's caught." I didn't cancel our Christmas dinner. The turkey was roasting, the house smelled warm and festive, and David and I set the table with the good china. Rachel arrived around 2 o'clock in an $800 designer dress, smiling like she was the star of the evening. "Merry Christmas," she sang out. The day looked almost peaceful. Family talking, children laughing, everything deceptively normal. For a moment, I almost wished I hadn't made that call. At exactly 3:15, the doorbell rang. David opened it to find Agent Ramirez and 2 FBI officers on the porch. "We're looking for Rachel Whitmore," she announced. The room fell silent. Rachel froze, her face draining of color. "What? Why?" she stammered. "Rachel Whitmore," Agent Ramirez said, reading from the warrant, "you're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, and mortgage fraud." Rachel turned to me, pleading. "Catherine, tell them this is a mistake." I stood. "There's no mistake, Rachel. You forged my signature. You took out a reverse mortgage on my house. You stole $178,000 from me." Her voice rose. "David, tell them your wife is confused." But David just shook his head. "I've seen the documents. The bank account ending in 7734, that's yours. We know everything." As the agents handcuffed her, Rachel cried out, "It was supposed to be a loan. Catherine, you're wealthy. I was going to pay you back." I was desperate. I looked at her steadily. Desperation doesn't buy a $65,000 car or take vacations in Cabo. That's not desperation, that's greed. They let her out in front of the entire family. "Please, Catherine, we're family," she sobbed. David's mother turned to me after the door closed. "How long have you known?" 3 months, I said. "And you still let her come here?" "The FBI needed time." "And yes, I let her come. You can't steal from family and then sit at their table pretending nothing happened." Rachel's son glared at me. "You didn't have to humiliate her like that." "She did that to herself," I said evenly. "If you're angry, be angry at her choices." They stormed out. Dinner that night was quiet, just the four of us, the air thick with shock and loss. 8 months later, Rachel pleaded guilty to all charges. At her sentencing, the judge asked if I wanted to make a statement. I left my note cards in my purse and spoke from my heart. Your Honor, I began. I spent over 30 years working in fraud investigation. I never thought the person who would betray me would be family. She took care of me after surgery, brought me medicine, fluffed my pillows, while secretly stealing my home equity. Rachel Whitmore didn't just commit a crime. She violated trust, the most sacred kind there is. I ask that you impose the maximum sentence. The judge sentenced her to 6 years in federal prison, 3 years of supervised release, and full restitution. David hasn't spoken to her since that Christmas. His mother still struggles to accept why I couldn't keep it in the family. But David understands. There are nights when he lies awake and whispers, "Was any of it real?" The sister you remember was real, I told him once. But the woman who did this, she's a stranger. We mourn the one we lost and hold the stranger accountable. That's what we did. That's how we survived. The reverse mortgage was erased from my record and my credit repaired. Rachel will be released in 2029. Her children still blame me, but I can live with that. Last week, I got a letter from her, 3 pages of apologies, and pleas for forgiveness. I wrote back just one sentence. Your sentence ends in 2029. So does my consideration of forgiveness. Maybe someday I'll forgive her. But forgiveness isn't automatic, it's earned. Rachel still has 4 years to prove she deserves it. Standing up for yourself is never easy. But sometimes it's the only way to reclaim what was stolen. Not just your money, but your peace.